Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA.
The Finley Days Committee welcomes you to Finley Days, June 8th through the 11th in Finley, North Dakota. Be sure to enjoy Finley Motors Motorsports Customer Appreciation Supper, free swimming all weekend, the parade, and 2 street dances both Friday and Saturday. Free admission, great food, a lot of fun for the entire family. Fireworks open house, fire truck rides, and ice cream, and so much more. See you at Finley Days.
The defending American Association champion FM Redhawks return to action in Newman Outdoor Field June 9th through the 15th. This homestand includes post-game fireworks, Doug Simonic number retirement ceremony, a Hawkeye pillowcase giveaway, and much more. For more information on upcoming promotions and to get your tickets, call 235-6161 or go online to fmredhawks.com. FM Redhawks Baseball. We've got the bases covered for fun.
And welcome to Weather and Ag in Focus. I'm Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki, along with Ag Director Bridgette Readel. Justin Storm got lost on the way to the studio today. Not sure what happened, but I'm sure we'll hear from him later today. He'll have some explanation.
He'll be good. He's probably so excited that his garden is planted. He's out jubilantly watching things grow.
I was just going to say, he's probably working in the garden. That's for
He
sure.
might be.
And, we've got some rain that will benefit that. We've got some isolated storms. Taking a look at radar right now. One of those storms just to the northeast of Hunter. We've got another one just outside of Buxton. Most of these in the northern valley. A couple of stronger cells just to the west of Logan Center. These are kind of those popcorn storms popping up like we've seen over the last, 2 weeks. This is ahead of a cold front. Finally, it's a little bit humid out there. Temperatures in the low 80s with dew points in the 60s. So that means, it's a little bit on the humid side with light winds. And we'll see these thunderstorms pop up. Nothing widespread, but some of these could contain some heavy downpours. If you have any late afternoon, evening plans, just kind of be prepared. Might want to have that umbrella with you. These things are moving, though, opposed to the last few weeks when these storms pop up. They tend to hang over the same place. Our upper-level steering winds are a little bit stronger. They're not that strong, but they're strong enough to move these storms along, so they're not going to stay parked over one area. So that's good news if you have any outdoor plans as you head into this evening or even later this afternoon. So, a few storms up around your neck of the woods there, Bridgette.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Absolutely. We had some rain showers overnight, so that was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, again, things are certainly going to grow. We've got this humidity. Plants are doing really well. Cropland looks good. I think it's pretty exciting this time of year where things are still green and look great. We haven't started to say, oh, it's a wreck. It's brown. What are we going to do now?
Exactly. And by the way, so Bridgette sent pictures of her garden to us in-house here, and that's got to take up like a quarter of your backyard there, it looks like. That thing is huge. Not that big?
No, it's not that big.
It just
it's not
looks
that big.
bigger.
Well, or else the yard's bigger.
Or the
But
yard's
either way, it's there's enough for me and plenty of others. So all of you should start locking your doors because somewhere in August is the National Leave a Zucchini on Your Neighbor's Front Porch Day, but I just know where you park your cars. So that's what I'm going to start doing when I have too many.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, we've got some changing weather coming our way. We'll go over the forecast here real quick because we've been stuck in this same stagnant weather pattern for the last 2 weeks. And I'll tell you what, I'm waiting for something different. And finally, we have some changes around the corner that will start with the cold front that pushes through later today, likely this evening. Then our winds switch to the northeast. When you see that happen later this evening, you'll know that front is through. And then we'll see the chances of showers and storms decrease. But up until then, up until about 9, 10 o'clock tonight, we stand the chance for scattered showers and storms. Lower 80s today, some spots middle 80s, with generally light winds out of the southeast, and then they'll switch to the northeast and become breezy. Now, with these last few cool fronts that have swung through the area, unfortunately, we've seen smoke behind that, and that looks to be the case for your Saturday. as the upper level smoke more than likely will kind of get dragged down to the surface for a period of time on Saturday. So if you have outdoor plans on Saturday, you're sensitive on any respiratory problems, might want to limit a little bit of your time outdoors on Saturday. But temperature-wise, it's going to be pretty decent. We'll have temperatures upper 70s and winds out of the northeast at about 10 to 25 and a little gusty. Morning lows over the weekend are going to be in the upper 40s. Oh, does that sound good? To lower 50s. And yeah, I know. I'm telling you, I'm excited. I can give my air conditioner a rest. And then Sunday, the pick day of the weekend. Sunday looks absolutely phenomenal with lighter winds, wall-to-wall sunshine, and temperatures in the upper 70s. And we should clear the smoke out of the area. Now, if you want to kind of keep a track on our the smoke that's coming out of Canada, I put a link on our Weather and Ag in Focus Facebook page. It runs 24 hours, so it only goes out 24 hours, but it continuously updates. So you can click on that link, and you can kind of keep track of where the smoke is heading over the next 24 hours in our area. So it's a nice little tool to have if you have any respiratory problems and you're going to be outside. But Sunday looks much better.
It's like the smoke tracker instead of the bison tracker we used when we went to Frisco.
Exactly. And
Got it.
And we had some people on our sister station shoot Kevin a text saying, well, how come your computer models can go out, days and days and days in advance, but this particular model only goes out for 24 hours. And it's a newer model quite honestly, we've really haven't had a problem with smoke up until the last few years. And so with that being said, this particular model, again, only goes out 24 hours. It's not like our other computer models. So if you hear that this only goes out 24 hours, that's why. But it does a pretty good job at tracking not only the upper level smoke, but the air quality that's expected over your area. And it goes throughout the whole lower 48. So it's a pretty decent link. Again, you can find that on our Facebook page at Weather and Ag in Focus.
By the way, speaking of all of the ways you can connect with us, Facebook, YouTube, Acres TV, we have a caller. Greg is on the line. And for others who want to reach out, you can catch us at 701-293-9000. That's the Red Wing Shoe hotline. Greg, go ahead. What's your question for Dean, I bet, with the weather?
Well, actually, it's for the Agra bunch. Has there ever been any tracking as far as yield of, like, for instance, grain when they do harvest in the late summer, like from the grain yields in Kansas and maybe Nebraska, South Dakota, North Dakota, and then finishing up in Canada? Have you ever done any averaging where which state usually gets the best yield, or what's the average yield per state? Just out of curiosity, because Kansas and South Dakota, that might be winter wheat, I suppose, and then a little bit of spring, and then you got North Dakota and Canada, which would be the spring, spring wheat. Have you ever done any averaging, I guess?
Well, we do know what those are. USDA keeps track every year of what are the harvested acres as well as bushels that come off of those, whether it's spring wheat or winter wheat, et cetera. They'll follow that on a state-by-state basis. So that's available on their website. And you can also track that back for multiple years. So you know how many different years, if you saw yield going up and down based on weather, et cetera. So that data is available. I don't have it at my fingertips right at the moment to be able to compare. But I do know that in 2020, North Dakota led the nation in wheat acres, especially spring wheat that we produced. You're right, we're not always the winter wheat leader, but we are leading in spring, and we tend to be in the top 5 no matter what for those wheat acres. So thank you, Greg. I will make sure to point those out as we get closer to our wheat yields, or our wheat harvest, and point out what our yields are for everybody so that they know where we rank. Thanks.
Yeah, kind of fun. Thank you.
That's a good question.
You bet.
That's a great
Absolutely.
That's a great question.
It's always tracked through USDA. They keep track of all of those acre reports.
Right. And so, again, if you have any outdoor plans this afternoon, we're starting to see more and more storms starting to bubble up here. We're just seeing a light shower now. It's trying to intensify up around Georgetown, just north of the Fargo area. And more numerous storms are starting to enter Cass County. not strong, but something we'll definitely keep an eye on for this afternoon. But I know there's a Red Hawks game tonight, and one of our listeners, Nate, emailed in and said, "Hey, what does it look like for the game? Are we going to be able to get the fireworks in and the game?" I said, "You'll be able to get the game in. It'll probably be delayed from maybe at least once due to at least scattered storms, even if there's lightning in the area. But I think by the time the game's over, fireworks time, everything should be starting to improve. So if you're having any plans going to the Red Hawks game tonight, might have a delay or so, but by the time it ends and the fireworks show, everybody loves fireworks, especially on a Friday, right?
That's exactly right.
Everything should be okay. A lot of street festivals and everything going on this time of the year. They're starting to really pop up, and so we want some nice weekend weather. And like we said earlier, the weekend looks dry, but just maybe a little smoky on Saturday. But man, get out and enjoy Sunday. It's going to be a beauty before we warm things up next week. And in fact, real quick, but it won't last long. It will not last long. So next Wednesday, we're supposed to have highs approaching 90 degrees. And next Wednesday is Flag Day, and we're having a big party in our parking lot for Flag Day. I want to give a big shout out to Hanson, Runsfield Funeral Homes, Thunder Road. We've got quite a few sponsors for this. We're going to have food trucks out there. We're going to have a wristband giveaway from Thunder Road. That's great for the kids. A couple of other shout outs, Freedom Matters USA and Barron's Eatery and Bar. That's inside of Kingpins, right over by Sweet Shots.
As well, Fargo Air Museum is also one of our sponsors for that day.
They are as well.
Yep. And when they say that the on-air talent is going to be available, they say that like Dean and we're stopping by to visit with, but we will be there.
We'll be right here.
We will be doing we'll be there because we have a show to do between 1 and 2 o'clock. So you'll want to be sure to join us. And we have a guest next week already lined up, so it'll be a fun day for you and I as well, Dean.
Yeah, absolutely. So swing on by. That's from 11 to 2 next Wednesday. And any first responders or veterans, or if you're in the military, you get a free lunch on us. So swing on out. It'll be a great day. And weather looks very nice for it, too. And speaking of special guests, we have one of our regulars on today, Bridgette.
We do. He is so much fun, and I have a list of questions for him. That would be Randy Nelson with Clay County Extension. He is the extension educator, and it'll be I never want to say stump the chump because Randy's not a chump. He's just that good, and we have very rarely have we ever stumped him on the questions we have. So we're going to bring Randy on air with us. We'll be right back to start that question and answer with Randy Nelson after this.
From breaking news to special event coverage, WDAY Radio and our WDAY News team is there for you.
And now, North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum.
Today, I'm officially announcing I'm running for the President of the United States of America.
Former Governor Ed Schaefer was one of the many dignitaries that were on hand at the event today.
I think he's in this race to become the president.
When you need it, WDAY Radio has it now. AM 970, FM 93.1, the WDAY mobile app, and online at WDAYradionow.com.
Attention business owners. Stop throwing your hard-earned money away on rent. Imagine owning your own building and saving thousands every year. Sound impossible? Not if you use General Steel. General Steel can help you save thousands by owning your own custom-designed building. Just call 888-74-STEEL. That's 888-74-STEEL to see how much money you can save with General Steel. Our buildings come with a 50-year warranty, and thousands of companies, from Fortune 500 corporations to startups, have trusted the General with their building needs.
If you need to expand or start a new business, you really need General Steel.
I'm very impressed with General Steel. Everyone's been extremely helpful. I'd recommend General Steel to anyone looking to build a steel building.
Stop wasting money on rent. Call 888-74-STEEL. That's 888-74-STEEL to find out about all our popular quick construction kits, including a 40 by 60 foot building or a 50 by 100 clear span building. Just call 888-747-8335 now. That's 888-74-STEEL.
Pucklet Chevrolet Buick GMC in Valley City makes it easy to find your next Chevrolet Buick GMC or pre-owned vehicle by offering a great selection at our best prices possible.
And welcome back to WDAY Weather and Ag in Focus. I'm Bridgette Readel, Ag Director. Welcome back to WDAY, Weather and Ag in Focus. I'm Ag Director Bridgette Readel. Sorry, I could hear the music playing, and I'm like, maybe I'm on mute. I better check. So I am here with Dean Wysocki, Chief Meteorologist, and want to make sure we say a very special thank you to Gowan Company. They're one of our sponsors for our Here We Grow project. Dean and I learned that night before last, our field got 1.5 inches of rain. That's awesome. We are very excited to see those soybeans continuing to grow and monitor. And you know what? If you want to keep up with our antics and what's going on as we not only prep, but also grow this 20 acres of soybeans, our newest video popped up on YouTube today, and it's also on Facebook. So if you want to go find us and check it out, you can search WDAY, Here We Grow, and you can find our newest video. It's where we learned a new use for seed bags, Dean. All those great big bags we saw being filled at Peterson Farm Seed. They also make a great spot for us to lounge around in a warehouse.
A great little fort, if you will.
It was like our own new fort. That was awesome. So yeah, we've kind of recapped all the weather and where we stand right now. I got to make sure that I send our audio producer a phone number for our guest, because it looks like we're having a little trouble getting Randy online, but he should be along soon. This is probably a good time for us to just remind folks again about our project. And then, Dean, you're probably going to want to start picking a headline, because I think I'm going to have to be able to do a quiz with you, right? What's our newest ag headline for the day?
Let's see. How about bulk milk grants available for schools? That sounds like a good thing.
Well, do you remember as kids always getting the tiny cartons? They were so cute, right?
Yeah.
We got those at lunch break. Yeah.
White and chocolate.
But they add a tremendous amount of waste to school lunch programs. And not only do kids maybe not finish them, but then they have to dispose of the cartons, and they take up more space than one might realize. There are grant dollars available, though, to help bring more bulk milk dispensers into schools. So if you're a teacher or you're part of a school lunch program and you are curious, how can we get some of these dollars available? Why don't you email me, ag@flagfamily.com. I'll share the link with you to do that. There are approximately 275 million single-serve cartons of milk served every day during the school year to students. That's huge. But right now, being able to use these bulk milk dispensers, schools are finding that not only do they have less waste, but more kids are drinking milk. They're finding out that especially athletes that like milk as a recovery drink are wanting to drink white or chocolate milk, and it's really working out really well for them. So I think that's pretty cool.
Now, I keep hearing that chocolate milk is a much better recovery drink than regular milk.
It is.
Okay.
Yep, brings just a little bit of sugar with and that type of thing, and athletes really like it as a recovery drink.
It goes well with mixed drinks too. Just throwing it out there. There. No?
No, and
okay.
And you know, the other thing that's pretty awesome about all that milk, June is Dairy Month, and as this former dairy farmer's daughter will tell you, drink your milk every day, have a little cheese.
Absolutely. Do we have Randy on yet there, JT? All right, we do have Randy.
We do.
All right, good deal. So Randy Nelson from Clay County Extension is with us now.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome, Randy.
Hi, Dean. Hi, Bridgette. It is great to be here. My headset had a wonderful time to malfunction.
Oh, isn't it perfect time? Well, it is a Friday, so if it's going to happen on a Friday. If you have any questions for Randy, shoot us a call, 701-293-9000. Again, that's a Red Wing Shoes hotline at 701-293-9000. And Bridgette, we'll let you lead off with any questions, and then I've got a couple here for Randy as well.
I do. I've been saving up listener questions for you, Randy. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay, so we identified some poison ivy for a listener. They sent us the pictures, etc. But the next question is, if it's on your property and you're wanting to, say, build a swing set for your kids, how is the best way to get rid of poison ivy? I personally recommended a flamethrower, but that seemed extreme. Got any other ideas?
I do like the flame idea, although I have heard of people having issues where they've actually burnt poison ivy, like they threw it on a bonfire, and just the smoke, the residue coming from that can have a major impact on some people. Ooh. But again, I do like the fire idea to get rid of it, but you have to be safe. The other option would be just the use of herbicide. If a person's not opposed to using that, typically if you look at brush killers, most of them are going to have the active ingredient triclopyr in them, and there are some other ones out there too, but that is a really good brush killer that could be applied to it. Now, if it's a situation where you want to get that swing set built and you don't want to wait for that product to work, because we're talking a few weeks before it's going to be gone, you could go in there and carefully just dig that out and, basically cut it off at ground level and carefully dispose of that. And then as any of that regrowth might come back up, which you're probably going to suspect some that's going to come back, then you could go ahead and spray that. And then, of course, be extremely careful that anybody around there is just cognizant that there could be some poison ivy popping up.
Okay, that's important to know. Keep the kids and pets away from it, because I don't think it just affects us. It would also potentially affect our pets as well. Okay.
I think it could. And then I have heard of people that have some major reactions to poison ivy. If it happens to be on your dog, for example, your dog brushes up against it, that can be enough to give you a reaction.
Yeah. See, this is why I don't have a dog, Randy. I'm barely housebroken myself and, stay home and not do stupid things. I can't have pets to take care of. Good grief. Okay. So next question I have is emerald ash borer. This came from someone over in Clay County, probably on the eastern edge of Clay, wanting to know if they need to control that emerald ash borer. Can they, and how would they do that?
As far as control, it's not really going to be controlled. It's here. So the recommendation right now is if you're within 15 miles of a known infestation, and that known infestation, at least right now, is going to be just north of the Moorhead High School. So good portion of Clay County, good portion of Cass County, or at least say the Fargo area, the Moorhead area, are going to fall within that 15-mile radius. And if you have an ash tree that you want to preserve, the recommendation is to treat that tree with an insecticide. And basically what you're doing is that if you do happen to have some emerald ash borer larvae that are in that tree, that insecticide can help to kill that and then protect it from further infestation. But generally speaking, the treatments are only good for a year. There is probably a few products out there. It's one active ingredient that is injected into the tree. That one can give you 2 years worth of protection. But again, this is something you're going to have to do annually, or at the very least every 2 years.
Okay, got it.
And Randy, so I've got an one email question, then I've got a question. So their emailer's question was, it appears I'm getting what's called Creeping Charlie to pop up in my yard. What is the best way to treat Creeping Charlie? From what I understand, that's difficult to get rid of.
That one is a challenge. It's interesting. If you don't want it in your yard, it's not a good weed to find. But just given how aggressive it is, and it's relatively low growing, in some situations it could make a nice adaptive ground cover if you're willing to have that. Although if you're in town, that one's going to spread into your neighbor's yard. So if you get along with your neighbor well, it's probably one that you want to control. One of the products that does a little better job on some of the tougher to control weeds, that active ingredient, again, is triclopyr, the same one that you usually find in some of the brush killers. Anyway, that one can be used, does a pretty good job. It is going to take a few applications with Creeping Charlie, and you can put one on right around flowering time. It's a little bit more susceptible at that point, and then I would also focus the treatments towards the fall of the year. For generally speaking, for perennial weeds, the fall of the year is a good time for control.
Okay, and is it poisonous to animals?
To the best of my knowledge, Creeping Charlie is not poisonous to animals.
All right. And my next question, and I saw this on social media, so that means it has to be true.
Oh, good Lord.
I read that when you mow your lawn, it's not good to mow it in the same direction every time. You should mow it maybe diagonally one time, in another direction another time. It helps the grass grow better. Is that true, or is that false?
There is some truth to that. If you look at golf courses, for example, athletic fields, generally speaking, they are changing their mowing direction every time they go across. Because if you mow in just one direction, that grain of the grass, or kind of how it lays down, can be affected. But we're talking, especially on golf courses, some pretty short mowing heights.
Right.
For a home lawn, it's probably not going to be as important. Although if you mowed the same pattern every time, essentially your wheels are going to be in roughly the same spot every time. So switching that up certainly is not a bad idea. To go, perpendicular to the direction you went last time, or even go diagonal. So switching it up is certainly not a bad idea. Is it real critical for a home lawn? Probably not. But again, if you can do it, there's certainly nothing wrong with doing that.
Okay. So, see, everything you do read on social media is true.
Some. We know that.
Well, we're coming up at the bottom of the hour, so we have to go pay some bills. But if you have any questions for Andy, he'll still be with us for another 15 minutes or so. Feel free to give us a call on our Red Wing Shoes hotline at 701-293-9000. Again, that's 701-293-9000. We'll be right back.
The defending American Association champion FM Redhawks return to action in Newman Outdoor Field June 9th through the 15th. This homestand includes post-game fireworks, Doug Simonic number retirement ceremony, a Hawkeye pillowcase giveaway, and much more. For more information on upcoming promotions and to get your tickets, call 235-6161 or go online to fmredhawks.com. FM Redhawks Baseball. We've got the bases covered for fun.
The Finley Days Committee welcomes you to Finley Days, June 8th through the 11th in Finley, North Dakota. Be sure to enjoy Finley Motors Motorsports Customer Appreciation Supper, free swimming all weekend, the parade, and 2 street dances both Friday and Saturday. Free admission, great food, a lot of fun for the entire family. Fireworks open house, fire truck rides, and ice cream, and so much more. See you at Finley Days.
It's Annetta's 62nd Annual Turkey Barbecue and Summer Festival, June 15th through 18th in Annetta, North Dakota. Enjoy the parade, classic car show, old-time tractor pull, crafts and vendor show at the Annetta City Park, golf scramble, games, great food, and the Turkey Barbecue, Saturday 4:30 to 7:30, 312 turkeys, 1,000 pounds of potato salad, 900 pounds of beans. Come hungry and fill your tummy with something yummy. Welcome from the Annetta Booster Club.
West Fargo Cruise Night is downtown again this year. Join 970 WDAY 93.1 FM, the city of West Fargo and Toppers for Cruise Night Thursday, June 15th. Same great cruise night with great food, good friends, cool beverages, and of course the star of the show, all the great cars.
Brought to you by Epic Companies, Dave's West Fargo Tire and Service, Bolton and Mink, and PetroServe USA.
Find more info in the events section on the City of West Fargo website. West Fargo Cruise Night Thursday, June 15th, downtown on Cheyenne.
Hey, it's Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki. Join me, Justin Storm, and Ag Director Bridgette Readel throughout the summer as we attempt to grow a crop of soybeans. We're calling it Here We Grow, and we'll be documenting what it takes to farm in the Red River Valley and beyond. Look for new videos every Friday on WDAYRadioNow.com, our YouTube channel, and social media pages. Here We Grow is brought to you in part by Peterson Farm Seed, Dakota Bank, and WDAY Radio.
At Ethos Life, we busted all the myths about getting life insurance. Like myth number 1.
Life insurance? I can't afford that.
At Ethos, we have term life policies everyone can afford, with policies as low as $7 a month. Or myth number 2.
I have a life insurance policy through work. That's good enough.
With workplace coverage usually only equal to a year's salary, that won't nearly be enough to cover your family's ongoing and future expenses. A long-term, affordable policy from Ethos can give you the peace of mind that if something happens to you, your family is well covered for years to come. Myth number 3.
Getting life insurance? It's just too complicated.
At Ethos, our 100% hassle-free online process can give you a quote in seconds, application in minutes, and coverage in hours. With no medical exams or blood work needed, just answer a few health questions. Get your free online estimate at ethoslife.com. That's ETHOS life.com. Rates will vary based on age, underwriting, face amount, and type of policy.
I'm Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I learned about atrial fibrillation the hard way.
My symptoms would come and go. Shortness of breath, fatigue. I kept going. Then I got so lightheaded, I couldn't. My doctor said I have AFib, so I'm about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. Other symptoms, irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain can come and go, but the risk of stroke stays. If you have symptoms, tell a doctor. Visit notimetowait.com.
Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Let the Goose River Bank become your community bank. They believe a strong bank builds strong communities and would be proud to be your bank.
Welcome to WDAY Weather and Ag in Focus. I'm thrilled that you're joining us. I'm Bridgette, Readel Ag Director, along with Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki. And here we are with our guest today, Randy Nelson. Randy is the Clay County Extension Educator. I mean, it's not a tongue twister unless I try to do it. Then it gets to be pretty crazy. And so Randy comes in and we get to do all sorts of things with lawn and garden and trees and shrubs. And we make a running list of questions for him every time he's here. So thank you. And for those who are listening and want to join in and ask Randy direct questions, you can do that on our Red Wing Shoe hotline, which is 701-293-9000. Randy, I feel like I'm one of the few people who puts up a fence for my peas to climb. Any advice to others? I mean, I know why I do it, but do you have any advice to others as to why or why not that might be a good idea in your garden?
One of the benefits to having that fence is that some of the pea varieties, they get relatively tall. And if they don't have something to climb on, they tend to fall over. Now, I have seen people get around having to put a fence up. And what they've done, they might plant 3 or 4 rows relatively close together, maybe a foot or so apart, and they almost use one another as a fence. And I've seen that work, although if you're going out there and trying to pick those, it makes it a little bit more difficult to pick. So I like using a fence. That way you can have it right next to the plant, and then as they climb up along there, and it makes picking so much more easy, and then they're not falling over in the row.
I also find that it helps me prevent any disease. I don't see as white mold or anything like that on my peas as often as well. They're a little more disease-free because I don't know about the rest of you, but I planted peas for the absolute utmost harvest. I don't need anything taking my peas away from me.
That's right. And you got a good point, too. By keeping those upright, the amount of moisture that is being retained around those plants, or the humidity, is going to be reduced. So that's an excellent point.
Well, and I've got one more for Randy, if I can, and that's I'm a huge rhubarb advocate. I love rhubarb. And one of the things I always do is when I see the seed heads, I'll snap those off to get rid of them, the bright white seed heads. My theory is that allows the plant to build more plant, not trying to put as much energy into seed. Is there a difference? Should I or should I not be taking the seed heads off, Randy? But in my world, I always believe I should.
Bridgette, I agree with you because I would have the same thought process. If that seed stock is left on, that plant now is putting resources into seed production as opposed to, leaf and stem production, or even storing up some of that energy perhaps for the following year. So I do the same thing that you do, remove that, and that's what I recommend to others too, as they see that coming up, because it really is going to serve no purpose to leave it there, other than, again, that plant's going to use resources to produce seed that person's not going to use.
And Randy, with us coming up on, middle of summer, well, we haven't even officially started summer yet, but we've gotten this early summer heat, that's for sure. I've always been told it's not a good idea to water your lawn in the middle of the day. Does the same go for your garden as well? Just not a good idea to water that in the middle of the day?
It would go along with that. And the main drawback for watering in the middle of the day is that, typically we're going to have more wind. The sun's going to be a bit more intense, so we are losing more water to evaporation. So that's probably the biggest drawback on there. That said, if you happen to be home during the middle of the day, that's the only time you can get out to water, go for it. You can go ahead and water at that time. What should be avoided, that late evening, maybe if you're needing to water 6, 7 o'clock at night, that should be avoided just because some diseases are going to need an extended period of leaf wetness. And if we have, temperatures are going to be going down, the sun, of course, is going to be setting after a few hours at that point. And then if there's not much wind, if that foliage doesn't dry out, you can really set the stage for some of those diseases to develop.
Interesting. Okay. And what is a good? We had an email question come in from one of our listeners asking what can or can't go into a compost pile from garden items that may go back into compost.
Great question. For the most part, as far as items from your garden, most items can go in there. Of course, any animal feces, in particular dog, cat, you don't want to put that into your compost. And one of the biggest drawbacks with a home compost pile is actually getting that to heat up enough to kill plant diseases. So that being said, if you do happen to have, maybe your tomato foliage has some disease on there, maybe some of your vine crops, pumpkins, for example, you have powdery mildew on. If you do have that, it's probably a good idea not to throw that into your home compost pile, because very likely those temperatures aren't going to get high enough in that pile where it's actually going to kill that disease-causing organism. So those spores or whatever the resting structure is going to be able to carry over in that compost. And if you spread that in your garden, it could turn up there again, just because, again, it's just really hard with a home compost pile to heat those up hot enough to kill out some of the disease organisms.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, compost is a whole different game. You have to really sort of think about it if you're going to jump into the composting world, because you can't throw everything in there. Like Randy said, you got to have some attention paid to it. And then does it matter when you start using your compost, Randy, just to build off that question?
It can. The reason I say it like that, if you're going to use it for compost, it's certainly going to matter, because you want to make sure that you have a nice finished compost. And typically a nice finished compost is going to have an earthy smell to it. You're not going to have any sour smell associated with it. And it should be pretty dark in color, typically black in color. At that point, you should have a finished compost that can be used. Some people do like to use compost as a mulch. And what they'll do, they'll just spread that over the garden, maybe over, whatever vegetable or flower they're growing, they'll have it spread out underneath. And if you're doing that, depending on what the source of that compost was, if it was all plant-based and you're still maybe seeing some leaves and whatnot in there and you're not concerned about disease, you could use compost that wasn't, say, fully finished, and you could spread that out to use as a mulch. Over the area, that would be okay. But again, if you're using it for a compost where you're going to work it into the soil, you want it to be fully composted, because the other issue you could have if you're using that before it's fully mature is that carbon to nitrogen ratio, the carbon could be pretty high. And when you put that into the soil, those microbes are going to be going after that carbon as a food source, but they're also going to be tying up some of that soil available nitrogen, or the plant available nitrogen in the soil, to use as a food source while they're breaking that down. So you can give yourself nitrogen deficiency if you're using compost that isn't mature and you're working it into the soil.
There's so much that goes on with composting. It's fascinating to me. I also want to ask one question for you, Randy. As we get in through the summer, a lot of folks, they set their deck height on their lawnmowers and they leave it all year long. Is it possible that we should be thinking about making changes in that deck height throughout the summer, depending on what our weather does, et cetera, to help the healthiness of our lawns? Because sometimes it should be higher versus shorter. Any thoughts there?
You are correct. And I find myself doing that sometimes, where it's set and then I don't change it. Although this last go around, I did not mow timely. Had some rain issues and other things going on. So I raised it up to about 4 inches, because the lawn was kind of tall when I was going through it. So I've left it at 4 inches right now. But raising that mowing height up, especially now, given the amount of heat that we've had, the taller the grass, the deeper the root system. And that means the more soil those roots can explore to extract moisture as well as nutrients. So having that higher mowing height is certainly beneficial this time of the year. And our grass, for the most part, is still pushing out quite a bit of top growth and root growth. So again, having that height of cut higher than what you might typically have it is certainly beneficial. The other thing it will help you with is weed control. Just because you're having more of the ground surface is going to be shaded, and even some of the smaller weeds, as they're starting to germinate, they might even get shaded out just by having that taller grass. So essentially you're controlling weeds without having to use any herbicide or applying any fertilizer.
And there's a lot of folks that are going to be happy to do that. I mean, we had the whole discussion about no mow May. Well, now's the time to make it look good and keep it up and nice and green while we can. I think that makes sense. So, Randy, is there a very popular question that you have been getting this year that people are consistently asking you in the last few weeks?
Tell you what, questions are still coming in on lawns. And the winter was pretty tough. And, looking back at 2022, depending on where you were at, I know where I'm at in North Moorhead, I don't think we had much or any rain in August. So it was pretty dry. I know I didn't mow, I think after the first week in August, just because there was nothing there to mow. But for those of us that apply their herbicide to kill their broadleaf weeds in lawns in the fall of the year, I never got that on last year. Just because, the weeds weren't really growing and I did not want to drive across a dormant lawn. So this year, I've noticed a lot more dandelions and other broadleaf weeds in my lawn, and I've been noticing that elsewhere too on lawns in town around the area. And again, there's a lot of winter kill that happened too. So that coupled with the stress of last year and probably even 2021, there are a lot of weedy lawns out there. So those questions have been coming in. So again, raising that mowing height is going to be helpful, and doing a good job on fertilizer this year to make sure that grass plant has adequate nitrogen. Typically, our soils are not able to supply enough nitrogen, but if you haven't had a soil test on maybe the past 3-4 years, or if you're in a new location, maybe not one at all, go ahead and have that soil sampled. And that way you can find out too where your phosphorus and potassium levels are at, because there could be a case that you might have to add those as well.
And Randy, one last question. And I love my neighbors. I love dogs. But over the winter and into the spring, so our lawns kind of blend together, and they've got a big German Shepherd. It's a female, and there is about a 5-foot round patch of where of where Charlie was doing his business, and there it is not growing back. I mean, it's dead brown. There's a few, maybe a few minute grass, a few little stubbles of grass trying to grow through there. What should we do? Is it just rake it up and then just reseed it? Is that the easiest thing to do? Because he's going to continue to go on that area. That's his place to go, and unfortunately, it comes into my yard as well. What can we do about that?
That is that's a tough situation, and you're certainly not alone with that, because they have their favorite spots that they are going to use. At this point, with that area being dead, you certainly can try reseeding that. With the hot temperatures that we've had, any new seeding at this point, it's going to struggle somewhat, but you can still give it a shot. Just go ahead, rake it up, and get a little bit of loose soil, maybe a 1/4 inch or so, and you can seed into that, and then just make sure that you keep that consistently moist. Now, the challenge you're going to have, if that dog is still using that spot as its place to go, trying to get that grass up is going to be a challenge. You're likely going to get areas that are going to come up just fine, but you're going to have spots that are going to die out too, because every time the dog goes to the bathroom, unless you can be there to flush it with water, basically you're diluting the fertilizer that's being deposited on the lawn. Those areas are going to die out. But again, you could certainly try seeding.
And it's interesting because I've had many dogs, and both female, male. Usually males will choose the tree or a mailbox to go on, and you don't have to worry about it. But I've had numerous female dogs, and normally the toxicity didn't do anything to my lawn. Does are we going into the breed of dog or is it what you feed it? Is there anything you can do or is that kind of more of a vet question?
The dog is eating asparagus, Dean.
Yeah, that's it.
Sounds like there's a good story there, Bridgette. I haven't heard that one, but it sounds like a really good story. I don't think there's anything in terms of what the dog is eating or drinking, and I certainly would not change the diet of a dog without first, talking to your vet. But in my opinion, it is, it's just where they're going. If they happen to pick, one area and repeatedly do that, I think that's where the problem is probably being seen. I know in larger lawns, for example, if the dog roams a little bit more, then it doesn't seem to be as bad if they're choosing different spots each time. And then also if it happens to be a year where maybe you're getting rainfall more frequently, that's going to help dilute that too. Right. So it might not just be, a person might not just see it as much in those cases.
Gotcha. And then Randy, if anybody has any questions for you, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
They can reach me by phone at 218-299-7338.
Great. Well, Randy, thank you so much for joining us on Weather and Ag in Focus. We always appreciate it when you're here. You always have some good answers, and even when we get some off-the-wall questions for you. Enjoy your weekend, Randy. We will be right back after the break to kind of recap what we're looking at weather-wise, and if we have time, we'll hit a couple of more ag topics. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Hey, it's Bonnie and Mastati from Bonnie and Friends. Join us weekday mornings beginning at 5. Coming up in our next show, we're going to be chatting with Brett Van Heusen, chair of UND's Aviation Department. Can an average person with no experience fly a plane if there was an emergency? We'll ask. And Aaron Prochnow, CEO, YWCA of Cass Clay, will join us. They have a special event coming up in honor of the 50th anniversary of the Wise Woman of the Year event, and we'll chat about it. All this and more in the next Bonnie and Friends beginning at 5 a.m. Join us.
What do eyewear and weather have in common? Join us for the Aspire Optical Eye on the Sky weekly weather forecast to find out. Each Tuesday morning, Dean Wysocki, Justin Storm, and myself, Ashley Freeborn, owner of Aspire Optical, will bring you the 7-day forecast.
You never know where we'll be or how it will be presented, but we promise to bring you the most accurate forecast this side of the Red River.
And learn how you can save big on eyewear from Aspire Optical.
Watch the Aspire Optical Eye on the Sky weekly weather forecast on our Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter pages.
Trust us, this is weather and eyewear like you've never seen.
Kinder Care in West Fargo is hiring. Kinder Care could be your happy place. What a great atmosphere, just like home. They're in search of an assistant resident care manager. $25 per hour starting, yearly bonus. Shift is 3 to 11 p.m., paid vacation, paid sick time, paid holidays, and you must be licensed to distribute medication in North Dakota. Go to kindercarefargo.com to apply. kindercarefargo.com to apply for the assistant resident care manager position open now at Kinder Care, your happy place, West Fargo.
With warm weather, you'll notice more boats, campers, and water toys on the road. And with that means more breakdowns and a need for a tow. Hi, I'm Kelsey Lomstall, owner of Aggressive Towing and Recovery. You can't schedule your next breakdown, but you can rely on Aggressive Towing and Recovery to respond to your call with speed and precision to get you back on the road and to your vacation destination. Need a tow? There's just one name you need to know. Aggressive Towing and Recovery. Online at aggressivetow.com.
Markets react to the June WASDE report. You're listening to the American Ag Network. I'm Jesse Allen with this market update. We're joined now by Arlen Suderman of StoneX. Arlen, the June WASDE report is out. Looks like fairly minimal changes to the balance sheet. What's your take on the WASDE report and the market reaction?
Yeah, very little changes and very little reaction by the market overall. USDA did cut Argentine corn and soybean productions by 2 million metric tons. No big surprise there. They bumped Brazilian corn by 2 million metric tons, offsetting that while bumping soybean production by 1 million metric tons. So in both cases, they're getting closer to where our estimates have been at, moving in that direction. Here on the U.S. balance sheet, they cut U.S. corn exports by 50 million bushels. So that was probably one of the more significant changes, but was also largely anticipated. As we look at the soybean balance sheet, not a lot of significant change there either. It's a little bit early to kind of assess the situation in exports. We got a bump this morning from a sale of a little over 7 million bushels of soybeans to unknown destinations. That really surprised the market. We also saw a run in soy oil this morning. Crushers kind of talking rumors that demand for oil has picked up. Nobody's sure where that demand is coming from. It doesn't seem to be on the export market. But as they spread that word, some of the renewable diesel people saying maybe we better buy up supply. So it's kind of emotion creating a little bit of a buying spree here. Outside of that, the overall trend toward weaker prices really continues for these markets, with eyes going into the weekend now on the weather forecast.
And that is Arlen Suderman of StoneX on the American Ag Network. I'm Jesse Allen.
And welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus on this Friday, or Friday, or Saturday Eve, whatever way you want to look at it. And we've got a few thunder showers trying to pop up on radar. Nothing severe, but out around the Hunter area, some scattered showers and thunder showers trying to hold together. Also, and Bridgette, you said that, your driveway was indeed wet in your area. And we've got a thunder shower trying to develop just to the southeast of Grandin, heading towards Gardner. They're not lasting long. There's not a lot of support with them. It's out ahead of a cold front. And I think right along, once that cold front starts advancing southward, there will be a little more support for these isolated storms to kind of maintain their strength. Not really looking at anything severe, but as we head towards the late afternoon, these pop-up storms will continue, possibly becoming a little more widespread. Not totally sold on that yet. And a lot of this activity will be out just to the west of the valley. But again, if you have any evening plans, whether it be going down to Rib Fest, going out to the Red Hawks game, anything outdoors this evening, make sure you have an umbrella handy. And just, again, lightning or anything, just watch out for that. But nothing severe expected. An isolated severe storm could pop up, but again, we're not looking at anything substantial, which is good news. After the cold front passes about 9 o'clock tonight, we'll start to see those winds switch to the northeast. When you see those winds switch to the northeast and increase, you know the front is through, and then better weather is to follow that, with cooler overnight lows after highs today, low to mid-80s, down into the upper 50s tonight. And then the weekend, breezy, less humid, might be a little smoky on Saturday. So Sunday is your pick day with highs into the upper 70s. So we got a little bit of time left, Bridgette. Let's touch on the Farm Rescue's spring assignments. What's that all about?
Absolutely. So Farm Rescue, as we know, is an organization here based out of North Dakota, but it not only services our area, but all the way down to Illinois, Iowa, Nebraska, etc. And they are available to help in the instance of injury or illness on farm. They have provided planting as well as harvest for folks. They've also been able to work with livestock assistance in order to help with haying or even feeding cattle during the time that a farmer is incapacitated in being able to do that work. And Farm Rescue's most recent assignment this spring in North Dakota was up in the Willow City area. They actually went to work for a farm family. The farmer was shot and killed in an incident in that neighborhood. And so then they were able to go in and do the planting for them. It was a tragic loss, but Farm Rescue just continues to get behind so many opportunities to help others out. It's not exactly a free service. You as the farm still have to provide seed and fuel, etc. But overall, you can apply, you can be a part of this program. Lots of great sponsors, and also, Dean, someday in your free time, maybe you want to be a volunteer. Now that we've taught you how to run farm equipment, you could go spend your time planting or harvesting for others.
Yeah, but they don't trust me on the farm equipment quite yet.
It's not about trust. It's about skill. They don't have to trust you as long as you can do it.
You just have to have the skill to do it. Awesome.
Just have the skill. Considering I prefer to mow my lawn in road gear, I'm not sure I'm quite ready for this deal yet. We'll find out.
Well, it's been a long 2-week stretch of this hot and humid weather, and we're finally going to break that. I hope everybody can get out and enjoy this upcoming weekend. We want to leave you with this special song as we want our one and only Bridgette to have a wonderful birthday tomorrow. It is going to be a pretty decent day for you, Bridgette, so hope you can get out and enjoy. It's a milestone for you, the big 3-5. So
nope, I'm gonna call it. I get a 5 and an O. I earned this gray hair, kids. It's here.
Well, you enjoy your weekend, and I hope everybody else out there enjoys their weekend as well. The Jay Thomas Show is coming up next.
AM 970 and FM 93.1, WDAY, Fargo, Moorhead,